2025 is wrapping up and people will soon be making resolutions for the new year, and financial changes are among them. Our friend Kristin Afelumo with HerPlanning joins us today to talk about some things to prepare for. And today we're talking about goals. It's the start of the year coming up soon. Everybody's going to talk about exercising more or saving more money. Where do you start?
I'm probably not going to exercise more, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So it definitely starts with thinking about what you want to accomplish next year and writing it down. I read a statistic, I think, that said 42% of our goals are 42% more achievable if you write them down. So just looking at your financial life and thinking, what would be one thing that if I completed this by the end of the year, I'd feel really accomplished?
So what are SMART goals?
Hopefully my business school teacher is not watching this. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. I did it.
You nailed it.
So those are the things you want to consider when you're thinking about a goal. So starting just with specific, it's not enough to say, I want to save money next year. You should say, I want to save $10,000 next year. Because that way you know if you won or lost at the end of the year. You know what your pace is. If your goal is to save $1 and you said, I want to save next year, then you've achieved it. But have you really made an impact?
So speaking of money, for example, if your goal is to save $10,000, is it better to break it down, okay, let's focus on this month by month or the whole?
For most people, it's easier to break it down by paycheck. So some people get paid twice a month, some get paid 2 times a year. So it's either 24 or 26 paychecks. So if you divide that up by however many paychecks you get, a lot of the time you can go to HR and ask them to do a direct deposit of the amount you need to save into a separate account. I find that that's really helpful because you never get your hands on the money to spend and it just automatically goes there without you having to do anything about it.
Looking at achievable, is it important to pick a goal that you actually can do, not one that's just out of question?
Absolutely, because there's a psychology of success. Success breeds more success. If you make $20,000 a year and your goal is to save $10,000, that's going to be really hard for anybody. So it should be something that, again, meaningful but doable to make sure that you're getting some success. One example that comes up a lot in my practice is when people are working on paying off debt. I often have them start with the lowest account balance instead of the debt item with the highest interest rate, because although the math would say highest interest rate makes sense, paying off just one thing because it has a smaller balance gives people that feeling of success that makes them want to keep going.
Now, looking at a situation where, kind of like exercise, if people do the New Year's resolution, they're in the gym for the first month, they're not seeing the results that they want, or something happens, they get hurt, and then they just stop. Looking at maybe money, for example, what advice do you have if, you get through January, you saved your $1,000, but then your heater goes out, your furnace goes out?
Yeah, you have to make the goal small. So another thing is using debt repayment as an example. If you have $1,000 left over after you pay all your bills, I would not recommend putting $1,000 towards a debt repayment strategy. I'd say maybe $500. That does a couple of things. One, it gives you some wiggle room. What if your furnace goes out, or what if something happens and you need $400, or a trip comes up that you didn't plan? So you can use that extra money and still work towards paying down your credit cards or whatever debt we're talking about. And if you find yourself in a situation where you need the whole $1,000, you take that month off, you continue on, and then if you get a bonus or something like that later in the year, then you can apply that to your goals.
All right, we're ready for the new year. We got our goals ready to go.
Glad to hear that.
Awesome. Well, Kristin, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.